Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's jump straight into this. Picture this. You're exactly 25 years old. You sit down, look at your finances, and the idea of giving up $500 every single month just feels impossible, right? Like a monumental task. And honestly, it makes total sense. We have absolutely all been there.
Just think about the reality for most young adults. Rent is due, your car is making that weird rattling noise and needs an oil change. Oh, and your friend is getting married in April, which means you're on the hook for like 3 separate events before the actual wedding even happens. So that $500, it's definitely not just sitting around gathering dust. Mentally, it feels completely spoken for before it even hits your checking account. Every single dollar is claimed. You're not broke, but you're not wealthy either. You're just living in that exact same condition most people exist inside of.
So, this brings us to the ultimate choice you've got to make with that $500. On one hand, you have the consumed lifestyle, and on the other, invested capital. Now, $500 a month is a very real number. It's $6,000 a year. Frankly, it's less than most Americans spend eating out in a year, or on an average car payment. But here's the big question. Are you going to let it become consumed lifestyle, just permanently disappearing into the day-to-day grind? Or are you going to capture it as invested capital that literally never stops working for you? It's a decision you make once, but then you've got to put it on autopilot month after month after month.
Now, you might be wondering, what's the invisible cost of not starting? Because make no mistake, choosing not to invest is still a choice, and it carries a massive, silent cost. It's not going to show up on your bank statement, and nobody's mailing you a bill for it. Instead, it just silently piles up in this enormous gap between what you will have down the road and what you could have had. And honestly, the tragic part here, you won't clearly see that gap until it's way too late to actually close it.
Act 1. Building the invisible base. So to build this base, we set up an automatic transfer. Let's say we split that $500 between a Roth IRA and a regular brokerage account on the 1st and 15th of every month. Why? Because we want the system doing the heavy lifting that human motivation just can't sustain. As we map out these first 5 years, we've got to talk about those incredibly grueling early months. You see, our brains just aren't wired to find meaning in tiny, invisible progress, right? We want massive feedback. We want a sign that it's working immediately. But in that first year of consistent investing, that feedback is pretty much zero.
Let's look at the 3-month mark. Your account holds just $1,600. You stare at it, and it feels like absolutely nothing. The market goes up a little, it dips a little, and guys, this is the exact moment most people just throw in the towel. But here's the absolutely crucial point. That $1,600 is out there actively working for you. If you had blown that $500 a month on a weekend getaway or some new clothes, it would be gone forever. You can't see the difference between those outcomes just yet, but the distinction is absolutely real. You simply have to treat this automatic transfer exactly like you treat your rent. It's just not optional.
Okay, fast forward to year 1. Your account is now sitting at $6,400. The market maybe threw in a few extra $100, but the real win here isn't the dollar amount at all. It's the psychological shift. You've officially built a base, and even better, you've completely changed your relationship with that $500. It doesn't feel like deprivation anymore. It feels like infrastructure. You've naturally recalibrated your life to fit around a slightly smaller number, and I bet you didn't even feel the pinch like you thought you would. Living below your means has just naturally become your new default say.
Act 2. The mathematical crossover point. This is where things get fun, and the math really starts bending in your favor. We're talking true compound interest. The crossover point is this incredible moment when the investment returns in a given year actually outpace the amount of money you contributed. So, at year 3, you've got a little over $21,000. Are you at the crossover point yet? No. Assuming a 7% return, your account grows by about $1,470, which is still less than the $6,000 you're putting in. But listen, the mathematical gap is closing fast. The account is getting bigger, the returns are getting bigger, but your contribution, it stays exactly the same. And just look at how that gap closes by our year 5 check-in. Your account is now sitting at $42,000. You personally put in $30,000, which means the market just handed you $12,000 completely for free. No second job, no crazy side hustle, just pure consistency. And there's another massive win here. You survived an 11% market drop back in year 4 without panic selling a single dime. You literally did nothing, which, by the way, is exactly the right move when the market gets volatile and you still got 25 years ahead of you.
This perfectly highlights a huge rule of wealth building. The market doesn't reward the most knowledgeable investor, it rewards the most patient one. By surviving that 11% drop, you've learned this firsthand.
Patience isn't just some nice virtue to have, it's a compounding financial strategy all on its own.
Now let's jump ahead to year 10. Boom! You've just crossed the massive psychological milestone of $100,000. Before this, it kind of just felt like a glorified savings vehicle, right? But above 100K, it transforms into a system, a machine running totally independent of your daily choices. In a single good year, your returns are now topping $7,000. Since you're still only putting in $6,000 a year, you did it. You officially hit the crossover point. The account is now generating more cash than you are putting into it.
Act 3. Letting the math work. As we move into the later years of this explainer, we're entering the true growth phase. This is where that one single decision you made way back in your mid-20s runs completely on autopilot. Your role? It shifts dramatically. The foundation is fully load-bearing now, and the math is about to do something explosive. Honestly, almost unbelievable. Check out the data by year 15. It tells a wild story. Over these 15 years, you've contributed $90,000 of your own money. But the market? It's contributed $110,000, bringing your total balance to a cool $200,000. Your money is now more than doubled, completely driven by market returns. At this stage, you're rapidly becoming a minority stakeholder in the growth of your very own account. It's doing more of the work than you are. And by year 20, the shift is just staggering. Against your $120,000 in personal contributions, the compounding market returns have exploded to $192,000. The account is holding over $312,000 total, and it's generating upwards of $21,000 a year in returns. Just let that sink in for a second. Your quiet, boring, low-maintenance index fund is making more money in a single year than many Americans earn working 6 months of hard physical labor.
Now, the absolute key to pulling this off was how you managed your lifestyle. Over those 20 years, your income definitely went up. Your lifestyle got a bit nicer. But that $500 contribution, it stayed completely fixed. You didn't up the amount every time you got a raise. You let the raises fund your life today, but that original $500 kept funding your future. You built all this growth without ever feeling any constant sense of deprivation.
Act 4. The 30-year result.
So, after 3 decades of maintaining one uninterrupted habit, no drama, no stress, here is the grand finale. Your total balance is $567,000. That's nearly $600,000. But here's the real kicker. Out of all that wealth, you only actually contributed $180,000 out of your own pocket. The market generated $387,000. The vast majority of this money was created entirely by the magic of compounding arithmetic.
To really put that into perspective, look at this number, $2.15. That means for every single dollar you scraped together and put in, the market handed you $2.15 right on top of it. And what did you have to do to get it? Literally nothing. Just leave it alone. That's not some flashy marketing gimmick. That is just plain math applied to historical average returns, consistently over a long enough time horizon.
So let's break down the true drivers of wealth we've seen here. Number 1, consistency. Number 2, time horizon. And number 3, ignoring market panic. Notice what's missing. It wasn't about being a Wall Street genius. It wasn't about having perfect timing or gambling on the next hot stock. And it certainly wasn't about starting out with a massive pile of cash. It was simply about unbroken consistency over a long period of time.
Which leaves us with one final, provocative question. Somewhere out there right now, a 25-year-old is staring at their bank account. They've got $500, it just hit their account this week, and it hasn't been assigned a job yet. Will that next $500 become a fun weekend they'll completely forget about in 6 months, or will it be a $387,000 decision? Because as we've seen, that is exactly what $500 invested consistently, left alone, and compounded over 30 years turns into. The math doesn't care if you feel confident, it only cares if you're consistent. So start before you even feel ready. Those 30 years, they're going to pass anyway. What's going to be in your account when they do?